Okay, it is now phase 4 of the functional fitness program. This is the final phase. Remember, this is a 16-week program, and you are in weeks 13 through 16 here. So for A Day, we are going to continue with some of the same ideas as phase 3. So we're going to continue to utilize a superset. But here's the catch: is we're going to use some principles of progressive overload, and we're going to increase load volume through this entire phase rather than just keep the sets and reps the same for the entire phase and let you kind of progressively etch up the weight. Okay, so what I would recommend is that you take maybe the first 2 to 3 days of this particular phase. So this coming week, try to find a good working maximum for the exercises that you choose to use in the supersets. So on A Day, you have a deadlifting exercise. On B Day, you have a pressing exercise, whether that's dumbbell or bench press. And then on C Day, you have a squat exercise. So you can utilize a barbell, whether that's in front or in back, or you can just stick with the goblet squat, okay? But the way that you do this safely is you try to work up to a weight with excellent technique. Remember, that's always the key. You should definitely have that locked in by now. We've been honing it for the last 12 weeks. You would basically try to find the maximum weight you can move with solid technique for anywhere from 5 to 10 repetitions. And I would typically either choose 5 or 10, okay? And what you do is once you find that maximum weight that you can move for 10 repetitions, for example, say you can bench press 135 pounds for 10 reps with great technique, okay? Once you have that weight, that 135 pounds, you're gonna divide that by 75, okay? Correspondingly, if you try to go a little bit heavier for 5 repetitions, you would divide that weight you can move with excellent technique for 5 reps by 0.85, okay? And that's how you can kind of find a working maximum for this last phase, all right? So what we'll do is you'll see kind of in a little bit later in this workout, each week has a slightly progressive higher percentage of your maximum. And then we have a little bit different set rep scheme, okay? So you have kind of increasing rounds with lowering repetitions in subsequent weeks. Okay, so today we're gonna start off with 10 to 15 minute movement prep, just like we did in the last phase, okay? So that's not gonna change. We'll perform a superset. So today's superset is deadlifts, your choice on how you wanna implement that, and then goblet squats. I'm going to demonstrate a trap bar deadlift and then a very light goblet squat because we're going to follow up the core lift, the deadlift, with 20 repetitions of that particular exercise, which today is a goblet squat, okay? Then after our superset, which will change each week, then we're going to perform a consistent auxiliary circuit. So today's auxiliary circuit is a side plank with a leg raise, a dumbbell bicep curl, a dumbbell tricep extension, and then a dumbbell lateral raise. So that won't change at all over the next 4 weeks. So we can get into the warm-up, and then I'll explain a little bit more as the kind of the superset progresses. So without further ado, let's get things going. What we're going to do first is we're going to lie down on our back, and we're going to do that active isolated hamstring stretch, okay, for 10 repetitions on each leg. You're going to pull that left knee up to your chest. Make sure your right leg and right toe are straight and straight up. And you're going to extend and flex that left knee joint, okay? Make sure you're pushing that heel to the ceiling. All right, then we switch to the other leg, about 10 repetitions. Just trying to get your whole foot flat to the ceiling, not letting it roll too much in or out. Trying to extend that knee joint and squeeze that quadricep muscle to get that good stretch of the hamstring on the backside. Make sure the other leg is all the way straight. Okay. So the next one, we're going to switch to a side lying shoulder mobility. This is called CARS, so controlled articular rotations. All right. So basically, we're Pulling that right knee up to the chest, sweeping that right knee over midline so it's on the left side of our body, and then we're just trying to sweep the ground with our right arm all the way from our knee on the left side of our body to our tailbone on the right side of our body. Okay, so we're going 10 repetitions here. That puts that ball and socket joint through a full range of motion, and then allows us to get our upper back moving really well. So after 10 repetitions of this one, make sure that you're also breathing while you're performing this exercise. So that's very, very important. Exhaling while you kind of cross midline of the body and reach that hand back behind, kind of allows the body to relax and gets a little bit more range of motion. All right, should be about 10 there. And then we're going to switch the other side. So now we're going to hug our left knee up to our chest and cross over midline. You'll notice I'm using my right hand to hold down my left knee. And that kind of keeps that thing in place close to the floor. And ideally we're keeping our knee above our waistband. Okay? So what that does is that kind of locks in all those little facets on your lumbar spine and keeps those things from moving very much if you can keep that spine just a little bit flexed. And so now all that range of motion comes out of that upper back and that ball and socket joint. Okay? If you're a normal right-hander like me, you'll notice it's a little bit harder to get that range of motion on that left side. Rotating to the left, as well as that shoulder mobility on that left side might be a little bit more compromised from what the right side feels like. Okay, so one way to kind of combat that is to just try to do a few more repetitions. You don't have to just stop at 10. Or try to do this same exercise on that left side a couple more times throughout the day. Okay, that'll kind of help relax that whole side of your body, get things moving so you're a little bit more symmetrical, and just kind of help us move better overall. Okay. All right, we got 10 repetitions with the cars. Now we're going to do some wipers. So you're going to lie on your back. You're going to try to keep your shoulders glued to the floor and keep your arms outstretched on either side of the body in a capital T position. Okay, and then trying to keep your hips and your legs elevated up about 90 degrees to your torso on the ground. You're just going to rotate those hips side to side. Okay, remember a slightly easier version of this would be to bend the knees. So you have about 90 degrees at the knees. That just reduces the amount of weight that you have to move. But the key on this is to try to keep your knees and your ankles together. Okay, do not let those legs fall apart, whether you have them bent or whether you have them straight. Okay. One other way that you can get a little bit extra range of motion out of this is to try to look in the opposite direction of the way that your legs are going. That gets that spine rotating all the way from your skull to your tailbone. Okay, so 10 repetitions there. Next, we're going to go with some swimmers. So rolling over on your stomach. Remember, you're trying to keep your wrists and your elbows and your shoulders as high to the ceiling as you can while maintaining a neutral position in the spine. Okay, so the chin should be kind of tucked back. Your face should be pointed straight to the floor. Okay, not letting your head kind of reach up or look up above you. Okay, try to keep everything neutrally aligned, and then let's try to rotate those arms to their full range of motion. You'll also notice that as I cross about shoulder level with my hands, I'm rolling my thumbs up to the ceiling. It's just kind of like a natural rotation of the shoulder right there that makes this exercise a little bit more effective. Okay. If you want to, you can also raise your feet up off the floor and kind of balance on your hip bones, squeezing your glute muscles. That just makes it a little bit more challenging while you're holding that position there. All right, 20 repetitions. Now we're going to roll over on our back again, and we have some glute bridge action. Okay, so we'll go 20 repetitions here. Did some mobility of the spine and the hips, and now we're going to try to activate all those glute and hip muscles. So push into the heel part of your shoe with both legs evenly, and you're going to try to draw the belly button in, squeeze the glutes, and raise those hips to the ceiling as high as you can without overarching, okay? Make sure you keep that belly drawn in as you raise the hips up high, okay? If you notice that your hamstrings start to cramp on that, really try to do a deliberate job of squeezing those glute muscles even harder, make sure those things do all the work, okay? Now we're gonna roll over doing a prone plank. We are gonna hold this position for 30 seconds, okay? Another great opportunity to work on that belly drawn in idea. Trying to keep those ribs down, belly drawn in, glute squeezed. If you're kind of contracting all those muscle groups together, you'd probably notice you're shaking a little bit. That's okay. Just try to stay relaxed and breathe while keeping that firm torso and glute complex. Okay. Now we're going to go a side plank. So we're on that right elbow. The key to this is obviously keeping all of our joints stacked. So if you remember, keeping the right shoulder over the right elbow, keeping the left shoulder over the right shoulder. So you're perfectly perpendicular to the floor, hip over hip, knee over knee, ankle over ankle. I'm going to hold this about 30 seconds. Almost there. And time. Good job. All right. Rotating over to the other side. Going up into the side plank. Here we go. Very nice. Okay. So doing a great job. You notice I have my hand on my hip right there. If this is very challenging for you, one ways you can regress it is just take that hand that's not on the floor and just place it in front of you. Give yourself a little bit of extra assistance to hold that torso up, okay? You can also bend your knees, okay, and keep your lower leg and your knee in contact with the floor. Make it a short plank. That's totally acceptable. It still activates all those core muscles, getting ready for the harder workout to come. All right, so rolling into a push-up position. We're going to do our world's greatest stretch. We're just going to go 5 on each side here, okay? Since my right foot is up in front, I'm dropping my right elbow down, reaching my right arm up. Then I try to rock my hips up and backwards, trying to create a triangle with my legs to the floor, okay? You'll notice I'm really trying to keep my left leg extended as far as I can, trying to create a straight, long line from the ear all the way through that rear ankle, all right? So we got 5 in there. We're going to switch to the other side. Going to drop that left elbow down, reach the left arm up, rock the hips up and back, get that good hamstring stretch. So 5 repetitions here. 3-part movement, down, up, back. Trying to keep the right leg extended as far back behind us as you possibly can. There we go. All right. Now we're going to move on to some downward dogs. We're going to do some for repetitions coming out of that push-up position. All right, so first action is pulling the belly button in, trying to keep that back flat. You're going to push your hips up and backwards to the ceiling. Think about the corner of the room that's up and behind you, trying to reach those hips for that. It's that same hip hinging motion that we'll do with a deadlift here in just a little bit, okay? Also great to get those shoulders warmed up. They're having to stabilize and push into the floor as you change position from the hands right about shoulder height to hands overhead. All right, so we got 10 reps there. Now we're going to do our quad stretch. So balancing on one leg, quad stretch to Superman or Superwoman. Okay? So remember, you're trying to keep your midline centered over your base of support, which is your left foot. Trying to create a straight long line from the wrists all the way through the rear ankle. Remember, it helps to really try to squeeze the glute of that right leg as well. That kind of creates some extra stability. All right? Trying to keep our shoulders and our hips as square to the floor as possible. And you notice my left knee is slightly bent. That helps to use that glute complex a little bit better. So we're going 10 repetitions here. Now we'll switch to the other side. So I'm pulling that left foot back behind us. I shift my weight over slightly to the right to ensure my midline stays over my base of support. You also notice my hips translate backwards slightly. That keeps my whole center right over that base. Okay, doing a great job. If you notice any difference from side to side, one side feels more tight than the other, or one side feels less stable than the other, you can really focus on that side.
getting more repetitions throughout the day if you get a little chance for a movement break, or you can just do a few more repetitions right here during your warm-up period. Okay, try to get those sides balanced out, be as symmetrical as possible. Always helps with injury prevention and just good function on down the road. Trying to play the long game here. All right, last movement. Gonna do a single leg wall push calf raise. Okay, so just getting a slight forward lean to the wall in front of you. If this bothers your big toe or your foot, you can always just elevate yourself in a step and try to do a single leg calf raise here. That calf complex is super, super important. You'll see kind of down by my heel where that Achilles tendon is. That thing has crazy amounts of forces that go through that every day on every single step. So we need to make sure that this lower part of our leg is strong. Okay, we're going to try to go 20 repetitions on each leg here. All right, this is also an excellent opportunity to practice our core stability. So trying to create a straight long line from the ear through the ankle. Keep that knee up high. That necessitates that you use your core muscles to keep the hips stable, keep the knee up, okay? And try to push up as tall as you can through the big toe and the ball of the foot, all right? Not letting that rear foot roll to the outside. That's it. Staying tall. Think about a balloon or a string pulling your head up through the crown of your skull. Getting those great reps. Okay, so about 12 and a half minutes there.
Okay, so we're going to perform 7 rounds or 7 sets of deadlifts and goblet squats, okay? And how we're going to do this in week 13 or week 1 of this phase, we're going to perform 7 repetitions of the deadlift, immediately followed by 20 repetitions of the lighter goblet squat, okay? And then we're going to do that for 7 rounds, like I said, okay? You have 2 minutes to complete each round or each set, and then we're going to knock them all out. Once that 2-minute timer pops up, you're trying to hit the next set, okay? So the faster that you finish each round or each set, the more time you have to rest in between. Typically, I could finish each set or each round in about 1 minute, giving me about 1 minute rest. So it's a slight progression from what we did last phase. All right, so gonna go ahead and get right into this. Remember, just like we've been honing all in the last 12 weeks, so perfect technique with the deadlifts. Okay, so flat back, great posture. Remember, you want to hinge the hips backwards and fire those glutes first as you maintain a braced core. Okay, and then you're immediately going to grab a lighter goblet and try to work that perfect technique for 20 repetitions on the squat. Okay, so it's kind of a contrasting set of heavier weight and lighter weight with the higher repetitions. Okay, this week we're using 55% of your maximum that you established. Remember, we talked about that before prep began. And then each week is going to get a little bit heavier. Okay, so it's just an example of kind of what each round will look like. And I'm going to pause the video, and then we're going to explain what each subsequent week will look like as far as sets, reps, and percentages. Okay, so in week 2, or week 14, week 2 of this phase, we're going to go 6 rounds of 6 repetitions. And we're going to bump up the percentages of the weight you're moving relative to your maximum to 60%. Okay, you're always going to follow each round of deadlifts with 20 repetitions of the goblet squat. Okay, in week 3 of this phase, or week 15 total, we're going 8 rounds or 8 sets of 5 reps, bump up the percentage to 65% of your established repetition maximum. Okay, and then in the final week, week 16 or week 4 of this phase, we're going to go 10 rounds or 10 sets of 4 repetitions on the deadlift, and you're going to be working at 70% of your established maximum. Okay, remember, you're always following that set of deadlifts with the 20 goblet squats. Okay, so by the time we get to the last week of this phase, you're going to be doing 200 goblet squats, following a heavier, hopefully heavier than we've gone to this point, deadlift. Okay, So we're going to go ahead and fast forward through all this stuff. We're going to get to the auxiliaries. So we're speeding through this. You can see all 7 rounds. Remember the rounds or the sets change as we progress through the next 3 weeks. And then we're going to move to the auxiliary circuit. Okay. So taking about a 40-second break in between your sets of your completed sets of the deadlifts and the goblet squats, and then we're going to move to the auxiliary circuit. Okay, so it's 4 exercises. Okay, going 3 rounds through. The magical number is just 10. You're just going to go at your own pace. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate. The first exercise is a side plank with a hip abduction leg raise. Okay, so you're trying to stack your joints. Shoulder over elbow, hip over hip, and you're going to raise your top leg up as high as you can, keeping your core as neutral as possible. Okay, make sure that you keep that top leg that's raising, keep that toe straight ahead. All right. So 10 reps each side there. Try to maintain great technique. There we go. Solid side plank. Okay. And then you're immediately going to stand up and you do a bicep curl. Okay. I would recommend the dumbbell bicep curl, but you can always use a band if that's all you have. Band bicep curls are excellent. Really, whatever you have works. If you're doing this at home, you don't have much equipment. Okay, so 10 repetitions there with the bicep curl. And then you can, once you finish with 10, you're immediately going to move to a tricep extension. All right. So you can just lie down on the floor. You can use a bench if you have a bench if you're in a gym setting. But the exact opposite muscle group is the bicep curl. Okay. So trying to with this particular version, you're trying to keep the dumbbells parallel to each other. Okay. So you're just hinging that arm at the elbow joint, bringing the dumbbells rolling back straight to the shoulder. And then you're extending them, trying to keep those elbows kind of stuck in space. Always keeping those dumbbells neutral. Okay, so that was exercise number 3 with the tricep extension, and then you immediately, or whatever you're rolling with, roll at your own pace. Then you're moving to the dumbbell lateral raise. Okay, so a moderately challenging weight, trying to raise the dumbbells up with great posture. And trying to get to like that capital T position. So 10 repetitions there. Okay. So no special time for each set of 10 reps. No special rush, just kind of rolling one to the next. If you're downloading our timer, you have about 15 minutes to complete this. It took me less than 10. Okay. Okay, great job. That's a fairly challenging workout. It's going to get a little bit harder the next 3 weeks, but you are well prepared and you have crushed this entire 16-week phase thus far. So we can go ahead and finish up the workout. I'm going to go over the conditioning here. So the optional but highly recommended bonus conditioning is a little bit different routine for a day for the next 4 weeks. Okay, so we're going to go 12 rounds, going 30 seconds of high intensity work with 15 seconds rest. So kind of similar to the 30-30 that we've been using a lot, but cutting that rest period down to half of what you've been doing. Okay, so still try to go all out. You can either go slowly or stop all the way for the 15 seconds rest in between rounds. Okay, but you're going 12 of them now. Okay, so get after it. Try to work that hard, and then we'll see you back here for B-Day.